Welcome to That's Canon, the podcast talking about the Canon film series and other similar movies. This is episode 61, and I'm Phil.
And I'm Greg.
And I almost messed it up again. Uh,
It's all staying.
it's all staying in, Adrian. Yeah, absolutely. Today we're watching the 1986 action film Cobra, directed by George P. Cosmatos.
Now, is it an action movie?
I would say the original incarnation of it is 100% an action film. What we got, while it does have action, I don't know. It attempts to be slightly comedic.
Yeah, it's like got comedy bits, but there's also like it feels like a slasher at times almost.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah, genre wise, that was my big question for you, because I know you've got a lot of nostalgia, family history, personal history of this movie, and I was curious to hear what you thought it was genre wise.
When you look at the previous Stallone Cosmatos team up, which was Rambo First Blood Part 2, that's 100%
action. Pure action. Yeah,
this one not so much. I didn't realize going into it that it was a George P. Cosmatos film, who this guy is pretty, I guess in quotes, notoriously known for being a director in like he was hired to do the job, but he didn't actually direct the film.
Interesting. I thought what I thought you were going to say was that like he's like a classic director for hire who always does like serviceable work, but isn't like a breakout like visionary. But you're saying that he's like a name, and then he's got like a team of people who do all the work.
It's so he directed Tombstone, which after his death, everyone was like, it was actually Kurt Russell who directed the entire film.
Awesome.
And for Kurt Russell anyway. Cobra, everything that I've read, it said that Sylvester Stallone pretty much directed the entire film.
Interesting. How does that even work? Is George P just like incompetent, and they bring him in on these vanity projects so that they have a director in name, but they were really letting the star do the work?
Like the star wants to direct it, but they're not going to allow them, so they hire a pushover essentially.
Yeah,
like, wasn't that the rumor for Poltergeist, that Tobe Hooper really didn't direct it and it was actually
Steven Spielberg?
Yeah, who did it.
That's a good point. Like, I wonder if it's the same kind of scenario. I mean, who knows? I mean, we weren't on those sets. We don't really know for sure, but that's what you're describing. That's kind of what it sounds like, is like exactly like you said, they hire a pushover so that the star can kind of run pull the strings. But yeah, I mean, this definitely feels like a vanity project. I don't know how successful it was at making him look cool. It was like a douche, but
100% a vanity product. Or product. Well, it is a product.
Yeah, it's a product.
As we kind of hinted at last episode, the reason Cobra exists was because originally Sylvester Stallone was attached to do Beverly Hills Cop.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted Beverly Hills Cop to be more action-oriented, less comedic. And the stuff that he was writing, like the sets and, the ideas,
mm-hmm.
They were far too expensive. They're like, we can't do this movie. It'll never make its money back. So Sylvester Stallone left, and it was essentially like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to make my own cop movie.
I'm going to make my own cop movie with blackjack and hookers.
Exactly. So he sat down, and if you notice, it's based off of a novel called Fair Game by Paula Gosling. Did you notice that in the intro credits?
I was watching the intro credits. I must have missed that credit, though. I think I was too flabbergasted at the fact that Sylvester Stallone has a screenplay by credit, but I must have missed the based on. That's surprising.
So he adapted the novel.
Air quotes heavy there.
Air quotes, probably to get some like prestige for it, right?
Oh, it's based on a book.
Exactly. And then he wrote Cobra based off of him not being able to be Beverly Hills Cop,
which is, I mean, that's a weird thing to think about. Sylvester Stallone, I mean, I assume the Eddie Murphy character, right?
Yeah, he would have been Axel.
That's What a weird parallel universe that would have been. Sylvester
Exactly.
Stallone as Axel, whatever his last name was in Beverly Hills Cop.
Axel Foley.
Axel Foley, yeah. Jeez.
Boom, boom,
Boom,
boom,
boom,
boom,
boom,
boom, boom.
boom, 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 boom.
Exactly. But instead we get this film,
Uh,
which
it's a
let's get
film.
into it. So I mean, Cobra, it starts off, and even the trivia for this film, everything that I was reading,
Mhm.
I guess Canon was told no logo in the beginning, and that's why we don't get the big Canon logo.
But we get a big Warner Brothers logo, which I was not expecting.
We do, yeah. This is like a Warner Brothers team up with Canon, and I guess Canon was probably like the smaller guy in this deal,
Oh yeah.
so they couldn't use their logo. They just get like that red text, a Canon Group Inc.
Right.
production.
Golden Globus, blah, 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 blah. So
Um,
what do you think the nature of that relationship was? I don't know enough about the business side of movies, but
it probably was, Warner Brothers comes up, they're like, yeah, we'll do the movie. You have to secure additional funding though. What you're doing is a little risky.
yeah, we
So
we know
we
this
have
is a
to,
pile of garbage.
yeah, we have to offset our potential losses. So
Okay.
find someone else to kick in a couple bucks. And that's probably where they get the Canon people.
Yeah, they probably were chomping at the bit to work with a major studio. If maybe they thought that this was like a kind of getting their foot in the door, maybe.
Exactly. The movie opens with Stallone's best Punisher impression. He says, in America, there's a burglary every 11 seconds, an armed robbery every 65 seconds, a violent crime every 25 seconds, a murder every 24 minutes, and 250 rapes a day. And it's just like the camera's panning to him, like cocking his gun. He's talking in his rough, gravelly
Yeah,
voice.
all this like really dramatic close-ups of guns and crap.
You got to think, probably in the 80s, people were probably like pumping themselves when they were watching this in the beginning, you know?
Oh yeah, you get that crime Sly. You get it good.
Because the
Yeah.
gun then shoots, a bullet comes out, and it Cobra.
Straight at the camera. It was kind of a cool like bullet close up. It was kind of like James Bondy almost.
Yeah, exactly. But like the beginning intro credits, they're kind of all over the place. Like you see someone, Cobra, Sylvester Stallone, driving towards the camera, and you get just like shadowy figures like walking in water, carrying axes and shit. Just really weird things. You'll eventually realize who it is. It is the main bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really weird is that this entire subplot of like his underground gang, it,
It's so diluted. I mean, it's
it's
barely
cut.
there.
It was cut.
Oh, was
There is
it
40 minutes of movie cut.
40 minutes? Wow,
Yes. And
that's that's a lot of fat to be trimmed.
I don't think it's fat. I
Meat,
don't think it's
delicious
fat.
meat.
I think it's meat. I think it transforms this movie into a much different release, which we'll talk about.
Oh, okay. Because yeah,
It
I mean, you get those shots during the credits, and it seems it's like some kind of gang. It's almost very cultish. It reminded me of what was the one with Mario Van Peebles in it, and they had
The
that weird
Exterminator 2.
Exterminator 2. Yeah, that weird like it's not it's more than just a gang. It's got like cultish elements. There are these like ceremonies they're doing, and they've all got tattoos.
Yeah,
It's like one step past a gang in terms
they're
of like
like family.
indoctrination. Yeah, they're like family. And they spout kind of like these like talking points, these like political manifestos at points through the movie. It definitely feels like something that was more fleshed out got than it just got cut.
100%. The movie finally like kicks into gear 3 minutes in, and we see just a random goon pulling up to a grocery store, and he's about to rob the place. He doesn't really rob the place. He just kind of causes mayhem and
No.
murder, right? He starts shooting the place up.
Oh yeah, he looks like immediately he's like this guy's like coked out of his mind. As
Yeah.
soon as he walks in the store, I think one of the clerks starts following him. He's like, "Sir, can I help you? Please don't shoot the cantaloupes, sir. No, you're shooting them."
Yeah. He's like, yeah. The actor Marco Rodriguez, who's credited as Supermarket Killer. Like I've seen him in a lot of different movies. He was in The Crow, a lot of action films. He usually plays this kind of character.
Yeah, like the hired goon, the gang member in the background, the muscle.
Exactly. Exactly. So now the supermarket is under lockdown. There's hostages. There's cops outside. Shit is getting real. The hostage negotiator isn't really getting anywhere with coming to an end of this ordeal.
Oh yeah,
So
no,
they call in the Cobra.
get the Cobra here. So,
Like,
I think they actually say like call the Cobra. I wrote that quote down. It just seems so. It's like the first of many like '80s action tropes. Like call in the rogue agent. We're getting nowhere doing the regular cop thing. We need the Maverick.
exactly. Exactly. But who's the hostage negotiator, man, I'm having a hard time speaking today, is Andrew Robinson from Hellraiser. He's
Hellraiser,
Larry.
and it's Garrick from Deep Space Nine, Star
Deeps,
Trek.
yeah. He's also the killer. That's his name in Dirty Harry. Like that
Oh
was his
yeah,
like big debut was Dirty
yeah,
Harry. Yeah. I really enjoy this guy.
yeah. He's great in everything he does. He's good at playing kind of like a slightly unhinged everyman, which is kind of what he wasn't in Hellraiser, and he's kind of like that now, where he's kind of like he's like a normal detective, but he's a little like on edge. But I mean, anyone who watches Star Trek, I mean, I'm a huge Deep Space Nine fan, and Garrett, the character Garrick, the Cardassian who lives on the station, the tailor, he is like such a huge part of that show being as good as it is. It's like all the episodes where he features prominently are just amazing. I actually think Andrew Robinson went on to write some Star Trek novels too.
Oh wow. I didn't know
Yeah,
that. That's
I think
impressive.
yeah, he was really into that character if I remember right. But I mean, he owns it and he definitely deserves it. So it's always good to kind of go back to these '80s movies where he's like Hellraiser in this one and see him kind of like doing other things. And he's great in everything.
He's also the rare double threat, maybe even triple threat. He was in an X-Files episode, Alpha, in which a series of murders is blamed on a mythical Asian dog that supposedly escaped from the US cryptozoological zoologist who caught it.
What?
So he's an X-Files
And
Star Trek
and in
alum.
Star Trek, like our main bad guy actually.
Yes, exactly. Which we will get into that.
It's like oh, everything's connected, Phil.
Exactly. But yeah, so they call in the Cobra, who is Sylvester Stallone. He's like a no nonsense. I don't follow the rules, but I follow some rules type cop, right?
Yep. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. The classic like '80s Maverick cop. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's the character that Arnold Schwarzenegger is spoofing in Last Action Hero.
100%, 100,000%. So the Cobra, he's gonna go into the grocery store and he's gonna control the situation. And this is where we kind of run into some issues with the overall tone
Mhm.
of the movie as Cobra Stallone is walking through the grocery store. Obviously, he's like interacting with the scene, but he gets to a part where he gets to a display of Pepsi. 100% product placement. Like there's rice-a-roni boxes like
Oh
up
yeah.
front.
Logos are right in your face, especially the Pepsi, like the whole Pepsi case. We got Pepsi free, regular Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, the
Exactly.
Pepsi Festival.
And then the biggest product placement just kind of grown out of me. He grabs a Coors Light, he cracks it, takes a drink, and then he uses it to distract the bad guy. But the fact that Cobra is so badass that he stops to take a drink of a beer. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like in the middle of a tense hostage situation, like yeah, tonally, what are we going for? Because that's almost like a comedy bit.
yeah,
It feels like to
I,
me anyway.
it feels like it belongs in Beverly Hills Cop. It doesn't feel like it belongs in
Wow.
this very gritty, sweaty, because people are so fucking sweaty in
Oh
this
my God.
movie.
Everyone is so juicy. They're,
Uh,
oh, yeah, you're right. It is kind of a, now that you put it that way, I'm definitely seeing the Beverly Hills Cop thing where it's almost like the main character, they're almost like too cool for a straight action movie. Like it does kind of dip into comedy territory. That definitely makes a lot of sense now.
yeah, I yeah. So he's kind of taunting the bad guy too. He gets over the intercom and he's kind of like telling him like, you're the crime, you're a disease, I'm the cure. Which like that's a pretty good like zinger, right? To like kind of set the fear of God in the supermarket killer. But it seems very at this point, he's killed like from what we've seen, only one person. It seems kind of over the top boogeyman-esque for Stallone to be doing this to him, right?
Yeah, like he definitely seems like I mean, he killed a guy, so it's not. He's kind of a jerk, obviously, but he's not like this criminal mastermind who's like about to take over the world. I feel like that's how you talk to someone like that, not a small
Exactly.
town, holding up the grocery store.
The main bad guy, you talk to him like that, not this guy.
Exactly.
But the supermarket killer does have a bomb, and there's kind of a tense moment when Stallone and the supermarket killer confront each other. He threatens to blow everyone up.
And
Cobra.
he
Oh,
says some weird lines here too. The bad guy, like this is where we kind of get a little bit of a glimpse into what that cult was all about because he keeps saying things like it's the way of the new world.
yeah, it's going to be like the New World Order.
Yeah, and you're like, what the hell is that? Where the hell is this coming from? Because again, like at this point, we think he's just he's like high on PCP and he just wants to fuck up the grocery store. Like
Exactly.
doesn't strike you as a cult member at this point.
Uh, Cobra puts his gun away to kind of de escalate the situation, but unbeknownst to the supermarket killer, Stallone has dropped a knife into the palm of his hand and then he like flicks it at the supermarket killer and kills him. Like goes right through his chest and he dies like immediately.
As knives do, they kill you
As
immediately.
exactly. Then as the knife goes into him, Stallone shoots him a couple times and then he does like the RoboCop gun twist.
Oh my god, I'm so happy that you called that out because I would laugh my ass off as soon as he did. Like what a like cowboy gunspin really like what a tool.
Exactly.
He's
And the
trying so
handle of his
hard.
gun is a Cobra.
Oh my god, is it? I missed that.
Yeah.
What
Uh
a try hard.
it's kind of awkward. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And but this is the issue though. So in the 40-minute version of this, I guess the intro was a lot more gruesome. Like the guy who gets killed as he's like running away in the
Hmm.
supermarket, it's supposed to be like more gory. There was supposed to be a couple more deaths in this scene that you would have seen to put more, I guess, like fear in the supermarket killer that all
Right.
got cut.
Because like I could definitely see that because they especially the way that Sly's treating him. You would think that like he's killed like almost all the hostages. Like he's just like massacring people in there. So that's why they're like freaking out.
Exactly. But no, Stallone saves the day. And as he steps out, he's bombarded by the news who are kind of giving him the third degree of like, why did you have to kill that guy? And Stallone shows like a dead body and he's like, this is why.
Done it to his family.
Yeah. And then Andrew Robinson's character kind of he gives him kind of grief of like, you're not a real cop. You're just part of the zombie squad, which that stuck out to me, that word. So I looked it up. I like looked up police zombie squad,
Is that a thing?
and it is a thing in foreign countries. I
Okay.
want to say it was like Thailand or something like that. Essentially, at night, the police officers that work the beat are a little more loose cannon, and the police commissioners don't really care.
They just kind of look the
They're
other way because they're cleaning up the
exactly
streets at night when
ex-
no really looking too hard.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, that was a really weird. Like they throw that phrase out like it's a common cop slang term that the audience would know, but it goes almost the entire movie. They end up explaining it like near the end about because Bridget Nielsen asks about it. We haven't seen yet, but it was just a weird thing to throw out like it's casual common knowledge. It's like, wait, the zombie squad is that like a proper noun that I'm supposed to know at this point?
Yeah, exactly. Uh, but we also get introduced to Stallone's in quotes sidekick, who doesn't really do too much in the film. Um, it's Gonzalez. He's played by actor Rennie Santoni, who is also in Dirty Harry. He was
Really?
Dirty Harry's sidekick in that film.
Huh. I knew this
Yeah,
guy looked familiar too. I couldn't place him though.
he's
That's
Poppy from
interesting.
Seinfeld, the guy who pees the couch.
Oh yeah. He's got a peek. Oh, poor
Yeah,
Poppy.
poor Poppy.
A
But
puppy.
yeah, so Stone's kind of getting grief from every which way but his partner, and then eventually he goes home. He drives this really neat car, which I read that is Stallone's actual car. He loved that car so much he was like, I want to put it in the
Oh, one in
movie.
the movie. It's like this 1940s hot rod. It's got like a roll cage in it. It's like a matte silver color.
It looks
Really cool,
awesome.
and it sounds cool too.
It does. As he's rolling up, he lives his apartment complex is like right by the beach. Very beautiful scene. He pulls up and he like hits the car in front of him and pushes it.
So you could make room to parallel park there, I guess.
Yeah, and as he gets out, he's like, "That's my spot. I'm a cop." And then the guy who was in the spot, he's a Hispanic guy who's like giving Stallone grief, and he's like, "Hey
Yeah.
man, I'll fuck you up," stuff like that. And Stallone's like, "No, you won't."
And then he rips his shirt off.
Yeah, calls him
Like,
like scumbag or something like that.
so this is a little weird to me. I actually rewound it because I thought I saw something, and I definitely did. That the guy who was giving him grief, I mean, rightfully so, he got his car rammed. When he got his shirt ripped off by Stallone, he was wearing a wire. Did you notice
Probably a
that?
microphone. It was
What?
probably he.
So you think that was actually like a microphone from like the sound crew? Like, was that part of the production, or was he like supposed to be wearing a police wire?
I think that's probably a gaff. That's like the his actual actor's microphone. Maybe Stallone got was too in character.
And he ripped his shirt off.
Yeah.
I at some point like go rewind it and sanity check me on that because I it was so weird because like I went down a rabbit hole thinking like wait a second, are they doing some kind of like undercover investigation? There's like an IG thing going on where they're trying to like get Stallone's character, and is that another thing, that a plot thread that was cut?
You never know. It could be 40
Yeah,
minutes. That is a huge, thing. But in
yeah.
IMDb, it says the Hispanic gangster when he rips it off, you can see the mic taped to him.
Okay, so maybe it was
So
just a production flub then. Okay.
maybe Stallone wasn't directing that scene right there.
Yeah, really. Hey man, you ripped that guy's shirt off.
But Stallone, he gets into his apartment, and again, like the his apartment doesn't match his personality. It's very well put together and not
Yeah.
like not slovenly, right? That you would expect a grizzled cop to be more focused on the job rather than keeping up his apartment.
Yeah, decorating. It's almost got like, do you remember what's her name? Lucinda Dickey's apartment in
Yeah.
Ninja 3 Domination, where it's like the most 80s apartment ever. It's got like all this like neon lights and weird decoration. Like it feels like that crossed with like a bat cave because he's got all of this police equipment set up. It's like microscopes and big TVs and computers and shit. It's a weird apartment that does not fit him at all, like you said.
He has a very intricate transparent glass map too, where he has like
Yeah.
pictures of bad guys and lines to where I guess they like committed crimes.
Yeah, he's like got all this investigative equipment. It does not. Yeah, you think that his this kind of character is supposed to have the dumpy apartment that he like is barely ever actually at.
Yeah, I don't know, kind of weird.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. uh as Stallone sits down, or as he gets in, he goes to the fridge, he takes out a pizza box and a carton of eggs. He opens up the pizza box, he grabs a pair of like fucking Edward Scissorhand scissors, cuts the tip of it off, the tip of the pizza off, and then eats the tip, but discards the rest of the pizza.
There is this. We might be jumping the gun here by mentioning it, but this movie has really weird relationships with food.
Again, why the dialogue about the food does
It's
not fit the movie.
no, we get a scene in the beginning about a grocery store getting with food getting destroyed. He throws the beer can. There's food constantly featured very prominently in close up, but also characters interacting with food weirdly, like using scissors to cut pieces of pizza. Characters like talking about food constantly, which we'll get into later. But like, yeah, what is up with him eating the pizza like this? It's not commented on at all.
It it's super weird. And then as he opens up the carton of eggs, oh, it's actually just his tools to clean his gun. Which like
Why is he keeping that in the fridge?
I there's it's like there's like lubricant. I don't think you want to get your lubricant
Cold.
cold to like crystallize. I would assume that that would be way worse for your gun.
Yeah. And come to think of it, didn't he take the carton of eggs out of the freezer, not the fridge?
Yeah, again, super
What is
super duper weird.
I don't know.
And then again, what else is weird is he turns on the TV and there's a Toys R Us commercial, which I get it. They're advertising for the Ocean release of the Cobra video game, probably subliminally by getting you want to go to
Yeah.
Toys R Us. But the fact that an action star, and especially this character, turns on the TV, there's a Toys R Us commercial, and he kind of just
And he just
goes
watches
with
it.
it.
Yeah. And so here's another like interesting plot thread that's kind of brought up in that Toys R Us commercial. It's like a Christmas commercial. This movie takes place at Christmas time, which features prominently in the beginning. We see Christmas trees and
Yeah,
decorations and things, but it's just kind of after this commercial ends, it's not really talked about.
no, exactly. You would think that the gang would try to incorporate, you know, starting the new world by, I don't know, targeting
The
places that
new
have like Christmas
year,
shit, right? Or
yeah,
the new year.
something like that.
Exactly.
I thought we were actually going to get like a classic canon move where they try to ape off of another successful movie. I thought we were going to get like a Die Hard ripoff here where they lean into Christmas jokes and things where they pepper it in throughout the movie like they did in Die Hard, but not here. It
No,
just never gets mentioned.
they lean harder into
Food.
food jokes. Um and I remember my dad, even when we would watch this, him just being like, why the fuck does he cut the pizza with the scissors? So it's not just like it's a lost on us thing. It was like even a lost on him thing.
Yeah, even people who have hard nostalgia for this movie are equally, WTF is the up with the pizza.
But Stallone is watching the news about crime. I think it was about
It's like a murder, like
the
a murder
grocery store
spree.
murder, or there's like a murder spree. There's a bunch of crime going on, and then we cut to
Yeah,
at night, and there's a creepy, candy van, right? We gotta get
the
candy.
free candy
Uh,
van. Yeah, everyone knows what we're talking about.
but they're stalking this blonde woman who, for some reason, is in the middle of the ghetto. She doesn't fit the scene of where she's at. Again, like a lot of tonal differences that don't really match.
Yeah, it's like I think it's like that's the diner waitress, right?
Yeah.
It's like we see her walk out of she like locks up. She's like clearly the last one on the shift, and then all of a sudden she's in the like scariest dark canon scary alley ever.
And then the goons come out and they have axes and they just start chopping the shit out of her car.
Yeah,
And there's like a slow motion, it's so 80s, like a slow motion stutter effect. The knife comes towards her. There's a loud crescendo of sound, and then it cuts. Originally, her death was supposedly horrific, and you would have seen her stabbed multiple times.
yeah. I was actually I didn't think about it at the time, but after you mentioned how much got cut from this, and especially from the grocery scene, how that was much more violent, I was wondering if this kill was also because that slow mo spot that you mentioned, where like it like slow mo zooms in on her face, it almost looks like they cropped in on her face to
Yeah,
hide gore. I feel like they've done that in other movies where they needed to like trim it down for an R rating.
exactly. Oh, 100%. They like, yeah, they do that like digital zoom,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. Lame.
Yeah, you can say that about a couple of the kills because then they get to the morgue and they obviously have
Hmm.
like these dead bodies there that have makeup that they don't linger on or really show. It's just kind of superfluous in the background. of what's going on.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it was surprisingly violent looking in that morgue scene because like you see really grisly stab wounds on this woman's back, and I'm surprised that they showed that part, but not the murder itself.
Exactly. But the captain of the police force is there, who is played by actor Art LaFleur. He's in the amazing remake of The Blob. He
Mhm.
was the babe in Sandlot. I mean, this guy, he looks like the dude that you cast when you need a military person, right? Or like a detective type person.
Oh yeah, like huge head, thick
Huge head,
necked kind of dude.
huge
That's the
rectangle head.
oh yeah, this guy is just like a solid brick shit house.
Yeah, exactly. And they're all Larry from Hellraiser's there, and they're all kind of arguing about.
Actually, Larry from Hellraiser.
Yeah, it's Larry, but it's Larry post transforming into the brother, so it's really the
Jesus
brother there.
wept.
Jesus wept.
Jesus, detective. What was that all about?
But they're all arguing that Cobra shouldn't be on the case because he doesn't follow the rules. He doesn't really, he's gonna just kill people in the end, and that's not what Larry is wanting, right? And the police captain's kind of like, yeah, but we got nothing. We kind of have to let him go and do his thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's like they you get the impression that like Stallone, I don't know if this is like a zombie squad thing, but they talk about Stallone like he's like their hitman that they like begrudgingly only use when they like don't want to follow the rules anymore.
that's 100% how I feel that they view him. He is the blunt instrument when every other option has been exhausted.
Yeah. But they still give him shit for it, which I mean, I'm conflicted
Yeah,
because this
you
Stallone
ask him to
character,
do this.
yeah, exactly. He's clearly like he's kind of a douche. He's definitely a blunt instrument, like you said. But at the same time, yeah, you let him off the leash. Like, what did you expect was going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. Then we get a quick scene of Stallone being frustrated as he shoots some targets with his partner and he gets all bullseyes. And then we transition to another, uh, the gang is stalking another woman at night.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I think they're in LA. There's like
It
really great scenery of, the highway, and these characters
like
are
gritty, like nighttime city shots.
exactly,
Yeah, really,
exactly.
really well lit too.
Looks
It's almost, it's like noirish almost.
Yeah.
Deep shadows and yeah, hard to describe. Looks good though.
The van that's stalking the woman, they ram her bumper, and they do like the great thing of kind of like distracting her. Like another woman in the gang comes up and is like, oh, I'm sorry that we hit you.
Very non-threatening looking because you expect, oh, if it's like a giant, creepy bad guy, you're gonna freak out. But if it's a woman, your guard is down.
Exactly. It doesn't last too long because the woman's like, are you drunk? And she was like, yes.
Yes. It's
And
it's
then everyone like springs into action to kill
yeah.
her.
It's I love the delivery of that line too. Because this lady, she like puts on this really deep fake voice too, and she just holds on that S and yes so long.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just like the weirdest thing. If you can grab a clip of it, play it, but it's just a great delivery.
And that's where we get a glimpse of our main bad guy, because the main bad guy has been wearing silk stockings over his head. It's Brian Thompson.
The Brian Thompson. It's a name you might not know, but it's a face you definitely know.
Oh yeah, I mean he's been in Terminator, Mortal
Yep.
Kombat, Annihilation. He was Shao Kahn
Mm-hmm.
in that turd. I mean, uh, he was
he
in Star Trek Enterprise.
Yep, he's in a lot of Star Trek. He's actually was also in Deep Space Nine, I think, in one or two episodes. His biggest TV, I think, was a recurring role as one of the alien hitmen in the X Files.
Yep, he's only credited as Alien Bounty Hunter.
Bounty Hunter, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, which is
Um,
interesting because like him and at the time I got the two confused. Him and Krychek, they kind of have like the same kind of creepy face,
yeah, they
right?
do. I think Brian Thompson, he's much more like hyper masculine. Krychek has a little bit of like a softer face, But Krychek, he's also kind of a wiener, and I hate that character in a good way. Brian Thompson, he's just pure scary.
Yeah, oh, 100%. But yeah, this guy, I mean, he was the punk in the Terminator. He was like,
Yeah,
nothing to wear, and then he gets like
nothing to
punched
wear.
right through the
Laundry
heart.
day. Yeah, he was with Bill Paxton, right?
Yeah,
In that little gang.
exactly. Really, just like a really great face
Oh yeah,
for being a bad guy.
yeah, a scary like muscular bad guy dude. Really physically imposing. It's a shame he didn't get more like leading bad guy roles.
Exactly. He starred in he directed, wrote his own
Oh,
movie called The Extendables. A struggling and publicly disgraced Hollywood icon gets another shot at mega stardom when he is hired to star and direct an action movie in Uzbekistan. It looks like it's a farce on The
the Expendables.
Expendables.
Oh,
You got to do what you got to do, man. Got to earn that cheddar.
yeah, you got to make your own opportunities, and I guess that's what he did. I don't know if I ever want to watch that movie though.
Yeah, no, same here. As the woman is being murdered, we pan over to Bridget Nielsen, and
Da-da-da-da.
she notices the woman getting all sorts of dead.
Yeah, she's kind of just like passing by in her Jeep and happens to witness the crime. So of course, the bad lady, the yes lady, she's like, get that license plate number. She's seen too much, basically.
Yep. Bridget Nielsen at the time was married to Sylvester Stallone, and we reviewed a earlier film of hers, Red Sonja.
Red Sonja, yeah. Phil, she's got to be the worst thing about this movie from like
She's
an act.
brutal.
Like she's just not a good actress.
No, she has that Eastern European look, which I think was really popular at the time.
Oh yeah, really, really pretty, and I think she works well as I like in Red Sonja. She could do that kind of role where she's like a feminine action person, but don't let her talk too much. Like you
Exactly.
can believe her physicality, but she's just not a great actress, unfortunately.
1000%. And it gets pretty brutal later on in the movie. But yeah, so as you said, the woman's like, write down that fucking
Get that
license
plate.
plate number and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of speeds away into the night. And then we get a quick cut of like a computer screen running, right? And it's they're putting in the license plate number, but you don't see like a good. Oh no, it does cut to her.
It
the
does,
the
yeah.
evil lady is also a cop.
Yep.
She is coiffed differently, and
Yeah.
when she's crazy she has like Weird Al hair. When
Yeah,
she's
like
a
major
cop,
perm.
yeah, she's like normal.
Yeah, it's I feel like this reveal of her being a cop was majorly flubbed because that should be like a huge like oh shit moment, like a dun dun
Yeah,
dun reveal. But like there's no music cue to make us think, oh, that's like this is a big deal. But yeah, like the fact that she kind of looks a little different because you're not 100% sure that it's the same woman.
instead
It
of dun
yeah,
dun dun reveal, it's dum dum dum
dun
reveal.
dun dum.
Because you
Yeah.
could, again, if you're not paying 100% attention to the film, for the 1 second that she's on screen going yes, you miss it.
Yes. Yeah, it should have been a bigger reveal. Like, oh, because like you kind of think, and they talk about it later that there's a mole. Like that's how they know where everyone is. That's how they know where Bridget Nielsen's character is. That's how they find them. It should have been a bigger deal, but yeah, they kind of messed it up. She should have like been at the computer looking at the like getting a printout of the car and all the information, and she looks at the paper and she goes, yes.
Yeah, exactly. To no one. There's
To
no one
no one.
around her. She's like reactionary to just herself.
Like the secretary down the hall, she's like, "Do you say something?" No.
No. And now all the cops have reassembled on the rooftop like they're fucking Batman or something like that, and they come to the conclusion that they should let Cobra
You gotta
do
let the
his
cobra
job.
loose.
Exactly, and he immediately like sets forth, but not before. we get like a montage of Bridget Nielsen as a model doing modeling things.
And
Um,
like it's the weirdest like montage too, because it's like shots of Sly and his buddy cop like hitting the streets, pounding the pavement, talking to people, trying to get information. That it's like that cut with these close-ups of these like retro like chrome plated robots, and you don't know what the fuck is going on until you realize like those robots are part of this fashion shoot. But
yeah,
it's like it's a weird acid trip until you realize what's going on. It's so super weird.
it's weird, and so is the song that's playing over it. It's essentially like the lyrics, if I'm remembering it correctly, is like you gotta do your job and you gotta do it hard,
Gotta
and life
gotta
is
pay the
really rough.
bills.
Like it is definitely the most stereotypical 80s montage song of like,
Yeah,
yeah,
cop
life's
ballad.
hard, right?
The
Like,
gritty streets are hard at night. Do-do-do-do. Yep, exactly like that. It was
yeah.
super stereotypical.
The song is Angel of the City by Robert Tepper. So in case
Oh,
you're
Robert
ever
Tepper.
wondering, he probably used him because he was in Rocky 4. He did
Mm,
songs for Rocky 4, but
I
not
think this.
the Hearts on Fire montage. He did No Easy Way Out, which was one of the first montages after Apollo Creed dies.
Oh,
So there you go.
yeah.
The
Honestly,
classic,
these '80s montages all blur together for me,
especially Stallone's.
especially his because they're all the same. Although this one is a lot less kinetic than his other montages. This one, he like I said, he's literally just kind of like walking the streets at night and talking to prostitutes and shopkeepers and any other random people on the street. It's kind of boring, honestly.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the
There's
weird,
no
the weird close-ups
action.
of the robots are the coolest thing about it.
Yes, the very shitty looking robots.
Beep, boop, boop, boop.
Um, but yeah, so this montage goes on for probably 1 minute too long. Uh, and then
Got
Bridget
to get their
Nielsen,
money's worth out of that sweet song, man.
yeah, out of that and all that aluminum spent making those really crappy robots,
Robot
right?
props, yeah. Got to get your
Uh,
money's worth.
so Bridget Nielsen, she's gonna be leaving the photo shoot, and we get this really weird moment where she's like talking to her agent or maybe like the guy who was taking the
It was the
photos,
photographer, yeah.
and he's like, I know you want to take your career to the next level, so how about we have sex? You don't have to love me, but we have to fuck because I'm a man and I want to fuck you.
And like, you're not that far off of what he actually said. Like, it's super forward and super sleazy. So I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm just trying to get you to find happiness.
Yeah,
And if you want to click career to the next level, I'm doing this for you, not for me. Like, what?
exactly.
What a douchebag.
Who gotta
80s,
love the
man.
80s. Casual sexism.
Yeah, we were bound to
Uh,
get some of it.
just like how hand wavy they are to it. It's just
Yeah.
so
And Bridget Nielsen, she just takes that in stride. I mean, I guess that's like if you're a model in the 80s, you just got to learn to deal with that kind of crap. But
100%.
she
I,
just
I would
rolls with it.
I would assume that if you were a woman in the 80s, you just fucking grinned and bared it and
Yeah.
kind of just didn't talk about it, right? Uh
Uh,
Pretty bad. But
yeah.
don't worry, he gets his comeuppance pretty quick because the gang is there to kill Bridget
X
Nielsen.
Gang.
And
Yep.
there's this, I mean, it got an audible laugh out of me because I
I know
thought
what
it
you're
was
gonna
so
say.
great. Bridget Nielsen, she runs to the oh my god, the elevator. She's running to the elevator
Yeah.
as the gang is like attacking, and the guys come out of nowhere and they run this guy down with a van. They like smash him into a wall, don't they?
Yeah. So there's two funny deaths in this. One is, yeah, like there's like a security guard who she was just talking to on her way out of the studio, runs back to him, gets in the elevator. This guy just gets rammed with a van, like right against a cinder block wall, which like it was absolutely hilarious. But
So again, stuff cut from the movie. The reason why he's not supposed to make it to the elevator, it wasn't that he wasn't fast enough. There was supposed to be a moment where he slips on his own blood and falls down, and then
Ooh.
gets back up to run to the elevator, and that's why he dies.
Oh, that is pretty gruesome. Slipping into your, yeah. Why did
But
they
it's
cut
so
that
great
though?
watching him get just smashed into the fucking wall.
Oh yeah. I wish I had rewound that too to like slow-mo it to see like to get a good look at the dummy that they put there because it was a really quick cut. You're not long enough for you to notice it was a dummy, but it had to have been. It was pretty funny.
Yes.
Um, Before we go on though, there's another funny kill. Like, so they're in like a when she leaves with the photographer, they're in like a parking garage, and after the X gang starts attacking, there's this other third guy. He's like a guy in a tuxedo. He comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He's just like some random dude trying to get to his car, and he just gets like axed in the rib cage immediately before he knows what the hell hit him.
I know.
And and we
Brutal.
super brutal and almost like again it was like a comedy cut to this poor random guy just getting axed in the chest, but like we get another weird close up of food being destroyed. In this case it's a bottle of champagne that this guy was carrying, and we get this like slow motion close up of it hitting the ground and shattering. What Why do we need that?
Food fetishes,
Food
man.
fetishes, man. Like this movie hates beverages, they hates fresh produce, but it loves, I don't know, gummy bears or whatever the hell that guy says
Gummy
at the end.
bears. Gummy bears. 100%. Uh
Anyway.
but yeah, so I mean, like there's some pretty good deaths. Obviously they cut away for a good majority of them because they want to secure that R rating. And
Mhm.
Bridget Nielsen, she hides as all the chaos ensues, and then the cops eventually show up, and they're talking to her, and then Cobra's like, we got to get you to the hospital because you're injured, right?
Mhm.
So as they transport her to the hospital, they're talking to the the bad guy, right? What's his name? It's like the Night Slasher.
I,
That's his evil name.
yeah, that Brian Thompson. I don't think he has a name. I think they just call him a night slasher.
Essentially, he's getting coaxed by the traitor cop of like, she's seen your face, she knows who you are, you have to kill her.
Right.
Which we get like the first time she says it, but she says it like fucking 30 times.
Constantly. Brian, he's like, I'm not deaf. I heard the first time. Got to kill her. Got it.
So he quickly dyes his hair black, and he's going to infiltrate the hospital as a custodian,
Mhm.
right? But we cut back to Stallone. He goes home and he's kind of just doing some normal police detective work. It's important to note that one of Stallone's key characteristics is holding a match in his mouth like it's a toothpick.
Is that what that was? I thought it
Yeah.
was a toothpick the whole movie, but I guess he uses it as a match in the end, so I guess
Yep.
that makes sense.
It's all full circle here, Greg. It's full circle.
I feel like that would
Um,
taste weird, wouldn't it?
Probably there.
Sucking
I
on
mean,
like a
there's definitely
matchstick.
100% like chemicals and shit like that, right? Like the cordite
Yeah.
or whatever's on the. But yeah,
The postscript of the movie is like the Cobra died of stomach cancer, and 10 years later,
he died of matchstick cancer.
matchstick cancer. Oh, it's a new variety. We've just discovered it. Sorry,
Uh,
Cobra.
as the night slasher's infiltrating the hospital, he kills a janitor, and he assumes his garb, which he's a pretty tall dude. He got
Yeah,
really lucky that there was a really tall janitor as
but
well.
like the janitor didn't look that tall, and this Brian
No,
Thompson's also really built in this too, so he's also super wide. Like this, that jumpsuit did not fit him.
100%. Uh, so he gets into the elevator to get up to the the room that Bridget Nielsen's in.
Mhm.
As he's taking the elevator, a sassy nurse gets on, and she's like, "You're not supposed to be in here. Janitors have to take the service elevator." And I loved how he grabs his knife from behind his back, and
He wants to kill that lady so bad.
exactly. And you, the viewer, are like, "Man, I kind of hope that the night slasher does kill her." But she gets away with her life,
After saying
unfortunately.
again, next time use the service elevator.
Exactly. So again, he's assumed as a janitor, and he's
Mhm.
doing some mopping to kind of make his way down to Bridget Nielsen's room.
Mhm.
And that's when a nurse is like, "Oh, it's kind of late for a janitor, isn't it? Is it? Is there ever a moment where it's kind of late for a
Yeah,
janitor?"
like it's like, oh, wait to be mopping up. Like, no, that they lots of like office buildings and hospitals and places do a lot of their like cleaning work after hours for that very reason. There's no one else around.
Yeah,
Why is that weird?
I don't know. It's kind of weird that she thought it was weird.
Yeah. It's my
She's the
first day.
secret killer. Yeah, it's her. And she's talking to a cop too, which he's like, "Do you want me to say something to him?" Like, no, it's okay.
Oh, I could do my rounds anyway. I'll mention it to him.
Yeah. There comes a moment though where Cobra gets in contact. He calls the police station and he realizes that his partner's there. And his partner's like, "I'm here because you asked me to come here." And Cobra's like, "I didn't ask you to do that.
Get
We
back
have
to
to
the
get back to the
hospital.
hospital." Uh,
Yep.
and then Cobra is getting attacked by the gang,
Oh,
right?
that's right.
As
That's when
he
that happens.
exits
Yeah.
his apartment complex,
Yeah.
the gang is there. Did you think it was I don't think it was weird that he was getting attacked at all. What I thought was weird about this scene was the giant neon
The
Pepsi sign.
Yes, 100%. I'm so glad you mentioned it because, again, weird product placement for foods, beverages specifically. This movie has like a soda obsession. It like could not be a bigger neon sign, like right in front of his window.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Pepsi must have paid some big bucks
Big
for
but
this.
for I mean, in this one, because we talked about product placement in other canon movies where in those ones it felt like they put it there without asking, hoping that they get paid later. But this, like a Sylvester Stallone vehicle, like this was probably Pepsi. Like they probably
Oh
were
yeah,
approached to do like, hey, we'll feature us. We'll cut us a check. They probably wanted it in this case.
exactly. The nurse is getting a little too sneaky suspicious, and as she enters one of the rooms, the night slasher is there, and he dispatches the nurse pretty quickly. And again, in the extended version, her death is supposed to be pretty gruesome.
Pretty gruesome. Yeah, I think we get another one of those like panning crops in this case where we like it like close zooms in on her face so that what I assume we're hiding like stabs or something.
Exactly.
Can,
Uh,
can we before I forget, can we talk about the night slasher's knife? Because
it's really cool looking.
I, I was gonna say it looks like the most mall ninja shit ever. Like,
Oh, I mean it's 100% mall ninja, but he has like brass knuckle. Essentially, he has like a rapier type hilt to it, and it
yeah,
has like spikes on it, so he could like punch people and hurt them with it, as well as stab people with it.
yeah. It's like a kind of like a curved blade. It's I don't know how big it is, but yeah, it's the spikes that get me because it looks like the spikes that you'd have on like a punk rock leather jacket or something.
Oh, 100%.
It's like it looks like a mall ninja stuff, but it works for him, I guess.
Stallone, when he was in the production of the movie, he told the guy who made the knife, "I want you to make a knife that will give people nightmares," and that's what they came up with.
Mission failed successfully, I guess.
You haven't fallen asleep yet. You don't know that.
That's true. I could. The knife. It's so stupid looking.
Uh, uh, the night slasher finally gets to Bridget Nielsen's room. He attempts to murder her, but she's dropping a deuce in the toilet, and she starts getting attacked. But she escapes. She pulls the fire alarm.
Why are you doing this to me?
It's such a horrible. I mean, I know that's her voice, but
I feel
she
bad for making
can't
fun of
sell
it.
it.
It's like Arnold has a really thick accent, and he's got charisma out the wazoo.
Yeah,
She just can't. I think honestly, I think the worst parts of the movie with her in terms of her acting are when she's meant to be acting scared. Because later
yeah,
on in the movie, she does like she's got like some happy banter with Sly, and that actually kind of works because she's smiling and laughing, and that I can buy. But whenever she like in these action scenes where she's meant to like be frantically running, it just it's terrible. It's so bad.
it's yeah. She can't emote that well.
Now,
Uh, we cut to the police station. They're giving Cobra some shit. And there's like I don't know, I think it's like the DA or something like that's there. And he's like, Cobra, you have a really bad attitude. And he was like, yeah, I know, but it's a really little one.
it's only a little attitude problem. Hey,
Like,
Chief.
again, what the fuck is going on with the humor here?
I was that meant to be funny?
I mean, it is a comedic.
It's yeah. I mean, it's definitely yeah. It's clearly meant to be a joke. I just like who thought that that sounded funny at the time. Ugh, he just seems like he doesn't realize that everyone's making fun of him.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, kind of weird. Um, so now they're gonna move her to the safe house, and so
Upstate.
we get this moment where Stallone is driving Bridget Nielsen in his car, and because the female cop is a bad guy, she kind of like I guess relayed the information to the gang, though we don't see it, and she's not in the scene as well. So I don't know how they immediately know to be strategically placed along these
The route.
routes,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't that part doesn't really make much sense
We
if we're
definitely should
thinking
have.
about the movie.
Yeah. Because I think, like, ultimately, if you think about it, you realize that, okay, it's the bad cop. She tipped him off. But, like, we don't see that. We needed just a 2 second shot of her after they leave the police station to go upstate to the safe house. We needed to, like, pan across to her making a sneaky phone call or something like that. That would have done it.
Exactly. Yep. You need that moment where she's a part of the conversation.
Right.
But we get a pretty decent car chase
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. There's lots to like in this car chase. I mean, there's that cool move that Sylvester Stallone does in his car where he like pulls the e-brake and like whips around in reverse at like
Yeah,
highway speed so he could like shoot at the car behind him. The car blows up and spins it back around. That's a really cool move.
definitely a lot of. I think when the action is on, the action is very well done.
It
It's
works.
everything
Yeah.
else that's kind of surrounding it. And I think it's because they cut so much out that you're kind of lost in certain parts.
Yeah. There's the connective tissue isn't really there. And yeah, I mean, I think, see, that's like, that feels like that they did it the way that they did a lot of canon action movies where like they feel like, oh, the audience doesn't want any of this story crap. Just get to the action. And it's like to the detriment of the movie. That's definitely what it feels like here because the action scenes do not feel trimmed at all, aside for like trims for violence.
Exactly. So yeah, Stallone is like, hey, there's someone dirty. We have to go, like, essentially like we have to do this again. So Stallone gets into a nondescript truck because his car gets all fucked up from the previous action sequence.
Oh yeah, can we talk about the end of that action sequence where he takes his car with Bridget Nielsen in it, like head on collision to this like parked boat,
Yeah.
like in a 1940s car, which like there's no crumple zones or anything. Like they should be strawberry jam after
Oh,
that
definitely.
accident. Like they should be
Yeah.
super dead.
Because that's like steel. There's no like give
Yeah,
in it. So they would have been jostled pretty hard.
yeah, they would take the full brunt of that impact at like again, it was like highway speeds. Yeah, they should be credits at that point.
As they're getting to the hideaway, there's just really awkward conversation between Bridget Nielsen and Sylvester Stallone. They're kind of like, again, they haven't, as characters, they haven't spent too much time with each other to talk. So now they're building that form of a relationship during this montage.
Yeah, they're trying to show that they've got a little bit of chemistry, which it's weird to me that they were married at the time, but they've got no chemistry in this movie whatsoever.
100%. Yeah. I honestly think that, probably horrible to say, but Sylvester Stallone married her because she's hot,
Yeah, yeah, you're probably
right?
right. Not for her acting talent or their personality
Yeah, they
compatibility.
just don't seem, and they were only married for like 2 years, if that.
Well,
So
maybe Cobra is what did him in.
I mean, yeah, probably. Well, I wonder, I think Rocky Four was before this. So yeah, I went like Rocky Four, then Cobra. But
But we get more food talk though. At least
we
there's chemistry
do,
between him and Buddy Cop talking about how Buddy Cop is eating too much sugar. Phil,
and how he needs to eat like meat.
yeah, early paleo proponent, I guess.
Exactly.
Ooh, you got to eat less grains and more meat and fish. Hey,
But Sylvester Stallone is almost like an idiot man child because he's looking at this tchotchke stand, and he grabs like a bobblehead and he's like, "Ugh."
He's
Isn't
like,
that super fucking weird?
yeah, he's like the entire like relationship building scene with him and Bridget Nielsen. It's like while he's standing at this little like souvenir stand, and while he's talking, he's just like playing with all the crap, and and then when the scene ends, we actually hear him say like "no sale" to the clerk. Like
Yeah.
he just like plays all the shit and then walks away. What a
S-
weirdo.
Super weird. I mean, he's a man with, I guess, little need or little taste,
Short
right?
attention span. Poor clerk's like, you gonna buy that or what?
He's like, no, no sale.
No sale.
Uh, the the buddy, his partner, warms up to Bridget Nielsen by telling her his first name, Cobra's first name. Cobra's name is Cobra. I don't think we said that.
Cobrietti. It's like it's like an Italian name, right?
Yeah, Cobra.
Cabaretti. And his
Um,
first name is Marion. And
Marion.
that's meant to be a joke, I guess.
I think like John Wayne's real name is something like Marion.
Yeah, I'm pulling this out of my ass. I could be totally wrong, but I think that's like a unisex name. Like lots of men and women have had that name.
Ugh,
I don't know why it's weird.
I don't know. I thought it was weird when I found out that the Duke's name was Marion, and I think it's weird that his name is Marion in the movie. It's probably 100% because he makes a comment of like he wants a more manly name
Yeah, I
in it,
guess.
right?
Yeah, it's an 80s action movie, dude. You gotta have the hyper masculine leads. No room for no room for a girl's name. Ugh.
We cut to a diner scene where again Sylvester Stallone and Bridget Nielsen are kind of schmoozing with each other. Bridget Nielsen is drowning her French fries in ketchup, which I do agree with Sylvester Stallone on this. He points at it, he's like, "Need a life preserver?"
Because those fries are drowning.
The fucking you don't eat fries like that. You make a pile of ketchup and you dip your fries into them.
Ooh. I mean, I happen to agree with you, but them's fighting words. I see a lot of people who put ketchup on their fries first.
They're wrong.
Yeah, I agree because you can't control the fry to ketchup ratio like
Yeah,
you can when you dip.
exactly.
Plus, it makes it a lot harder to eat without getting your hands all ketchupy.
Yeah,
But the way that we're talking about this, like we in the movie are in agreement that these fries are serious business because we get a major close up shot. It's like practically like it feels like a commercial for fries and ketchup because it's like this like loving close up of slow mo ketchup hitting the glistening greasy fries right out of the fryer. It just like hangs on it for so long.
I
They
would
keep talking about it too.
I would be lying if I didn't have a hankering for fries after seeing this. The fries did
Mm.
look really good despite all the fucking ketchup on them.
Do you
Uh,
like the crinkle cut fries?
I like it. Yes, I like the crinkle cut fries when they're especially deep fried. Like I don't like them limp.
Really, yeah, which they almost always are whenever you get them.
Yeah. But yeah, I like crinkle cut fries. I think the king of fry
Don't say steak
is
fries.
no is like the waffle fry or the curly.
Okay, curly, 100% agree. Especially like the Arby's curly fries
Oh
with that
yeah.
seasoning. Steak fries, no, too potatoy. I have, I'll give a hot take. I think waffle fries are overrated. I think those are too potatoy. Also,
Really?
I do. I like a rough cut. I like a little bit of skin on the potato, which usually you get with a waffle fry. But I don't know. People rave about the ones at Chick-fil-A. Yeah,
Well,
kind
here's
of.
my hot take. Chick-fil-A sucks. So
Whoa, hot take.
yeah, I don't get the love for that place, but that's for a different podcast where we have like a chicken scene or something like that.
Oh man, we're gonna dedicate a whole That's Canon episode because we were just talking about chicken sandwiches the other day.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a tier review list on the YouTube channel for chicken sandwiches. Us and like a million other YouTubers.
Exactly. Later that night, Stallone finds the traitor cop making a phone call from the payphone, and he's like, "Why aren't you making a phone call from inside your room?"
This is on the fritz. It's busted.
Exactly, which I
Anyway,
don't
it's cold
get.
out
I don't get why she didn't do it. I think she has a room alone. It doesn't really make any sense that she's making this covert call to her clan at the payphone.
at the payphone. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think she was sharing a room with anyone. So why would you not just do it under behind a closed door.
Yeah. I don't know. But Stallone knows that there's something up and he gets to his room and he starts fucking like loading 1,000 guns.
You're like, okay, can we talk about how the fact that he's like on this mission where he knows that he's likely to meet violence? Why did he not already have his machine gun assembled? Why is he doing that now?
Because it's gotta look cool.
Because you gotta have that scene where he's
Yep.
assembling the gun, just like in Terminator, where they're instead of pipe bombs, it's I don't know, some kind of submachine gun or something. The word
Yeah.
fire conspicuously written on it so that you know which end is the business end of the gun.
As if you wouldn't know what end the bullets are gonna come out of.
Point this end at the bad guys.
Exactly. Whoopsie doodle. Bridget Nielsen gets woken up by all the loading of the guns and stuff like that, and then she beckons Sylvester Stallone to come over, and then they bang.
Which is, I'm happy that we didn't get a lot of that. Like we see them kiss and then it kind of ends.
Yeah, they do the classy thing of like they fade away.
Yeah, and it's like the next day. Do you
And
think that
and
was
the
part on the like? Do you think that was on the cutting room floor too?
probably I would assume that there's probably a more graphic sex scene.
Like hardcore X-rated.
Exactly. It's their
This is gonna
bedroom
be in the movie.
videotape.
Don't know. I want to see that.
What's weird though is like the next morning, the gang is arriving and they're like coming through the town to this hotel and they're
Oh yeah,
causing chaos on the way there.
yeah. It's like an army. It's not just like the van, like two or three guys in a van. It's like 50 motorcycles, 10 vans, all chock full of bad goons from the Axe Gang, and they're like hassling shopkeeps and like running kids down in the crosswalk. And I think one of them like roughs up a sheriff when he's like looking at the front of the sheriff's room door. Like he's like barges into the sheriff's office, and I don't know what they're doing in there, but like it's mayhem, serious mayhem.
Yeah, super weird that they wouldn't go in a little more covert, but whatever, that's not for
Action
me.
movie.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be an action 80s action movie if people went in covertly, right?
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
just like it's like a big shootout, motorcycles, all that jazz. Tons of motorcycles in this one.
Oh yeah, I think I mean, good like quality stunts, but I think we see like at least a dozen shots of a guy falling off a motorcycle.
It's the same stuntman just falling off of different motorcycles from different angles.
That poor guy's knee. I mean, that's gotta hurt. Even like a trained stunt person doing it, I'm sure it's gotta hurt after a while. Like taking those wipeouts.
Be like, can we stop?
My knees
Can we
hurt.
just
Can I
give
eat
me like a couple
lunch?
seconds here?
This ain't no union show. Get back on that motorcycle.
Just drop off that fucking motorcycle. All of a sudden, Bridget Nielsen is just an action star as she's taking the wheel of the truck, and Sylvester Stallone is cooking fools off the back of it, right?
Yep, cooking
Like,
fools.
I understand that she's kind of driving straight, but driving under pressure is probably a skill that not even like the grizzled of people might have, let alone
A
the model
fashion model.
Bridget Nielsen.
Yeah, and it's not even she's like driving it like she just needs to get away in a straight line. Like she's like weaving and ducking around all these motorcyclists who are falling off their motorcycles as Sly's shooting them in the face, and she's just like pro tier stunt driver whipping around these guys. Makes no sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Did you also notice that they were on a lemon farm?
Yeah, that was a weird. I guess they grow lemons in California, right? It must have been.
Yeah,
They feature it very prominently. Like there's lemons everywhere.
kind of weird. I don't know why, but it definitely caught my eye this time. I don't know if I ever noticed
All the
previously
lemons.
watching this movie that there were lemons everywhere.
Like again, weird obsession with food. Of course they got to show a lemon grove. There's food. It's that's what this movie's all about. It's about showing food in the background or in the
Yeah,
foreground. I don't know.
super, super weird. And they get into, I'm assuming, the lemon production factory.
The
Not
lemon
that they
refinery.
produce lemons there, but they probably like squeeze them, right? And make lemon juice or limoncello.
This is like I don't know. This seems like a pretty heavy industry for lemon like production because it's like it looks like there's like molten lead and shit around, isn't there?
There is, but it's right next to the lemon field.
There's some weird things going on here because this is clearly, I don't know what they're doing to those lemons to make them look like that. I don't think lemons behave like that when you put them under fire. But like, even if it's like, who puts like a lead refinery right next to their where they're growing food?
I don't know. That seems like you would taint the ground, right? Like you
Yeah.
would get cancer causing lemons.
Cancer lemons.
Um,
Heavy. You're 100% of your daily dose of heavy metals and arsenic.
exactly. But
Mm.
they now have an again kind of this is pre T2, obviously, because Terminator 2 was 1992. But
Hmm.
this definitely evokes like a Terminator set piece. Probably even just the first one where they go into Cyberdyne and they're
Yeah.
having the confrontation there.
It
Stallone, Bridget Nielsen, the Night Slasher, they're all
kind of running up and down the catwalks and around the like steamy pipes. It kind of looked like Aliens too, the end of Aliens when they're in the reactor.
exactly, yeah, as everything was like blowing up and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Yeah, definitely evoking different movie vibes at this point.
For sure.
And I would say like while the action has been pretty good, like there is no real tension in this set piece right here because there's moments where like Bridget Nielsen's hiding and then you see the traitor cop and you
Hmm.
see kind of like the Night Slasher and Stallone pass each other but not realize that they're passing each other because of the geography of this fucking lemon factory is so confusing. You don't know if these people are 1,000 yards away from each other or right on top of each other, you
Yeah.
know?
I think that's probably why there's no tension is because you don't get a good sense of, oh, Bridget's here and the bad guy's over here and they're really close to catching her and they don't realize how close she is and she's got to like keep quiet. You know what I mean? There's yeah, like the fact that you don't know where everyone is at any given time, it kind of sucks the tension out. It's just
Yeah,
general shots of people walking around a factory, a lemon factory.
a lemon factory. There is a point where a guy gets lemon gasoline all over him, and that's when Stallone lights his match and he sets him on fire.
You got the right to remain silent.
Um,
Oh my god, there's that one. I think it's before the guy we get the fire stunt on. There's a guy like two goons are sneaking around trying to find Sylvester Stallone, and he's like around a corner next to a big like knob, like a valve, and he turns the valve, and that makes like flamethrowers shoot up from the floor under the guys. Like what what valve in a factory is it normal to put flamethrowers in the floor valves in a factory like
the
that?
flame release valve. I
Oh,
think that's
the
pretty
lemon flame release
standard.
valve
Lemon flame release
in a
valve.
lemon refinery. Yeah.
Pretty standard feature in most industrial. You got to think like places like that aren't safe, and they put booby trap type items everywhere.
It's like a trick to make sure people watch like the orientation video where like don't touch knobs, you don't know what they do because it could be the flamethrower release lemon valve.
Exactly. Eventually, it culminates into the Night Slasher calling out Sylvester Stallone because these two really haven't met each other the entire film. They haven't shared a scene with each other, which is kind of weird
Yeah,
for
that's
an
a really good
action
point.
film
They kind of are just meeting for the first time here.
for the first and
And
unfortunately last
last.
time. Uh, and then Night Slasher is kind of giving his monologue where he's like, we're going to cause the new world. We are the alphas. We're culling the weak.
Yep, we're
We're not going
killing.
to kill each other because we're kind of doing the same thing from different
Yeah,
perspectives.
yeah, exactly. There's kind of trying to draw parallels, but he's also like insulting him too. We get a lot of like, "I want your eyes, pig. I want them. You want to? I'll take you to hell with me." Blah 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 blah. Just kind of like general action movie bad guy lines. It's kind of
Yeah.
stupid at times.
The I will say his dialogue in a sea of mediocre dialogue is probably the worst
It's
of it.
especially yeah, eye rolly.
But they kind of have like a weak noodle fight. The knife really isn't capitalized on it. They kind of hit each other with chains for a good amount of the fight.
Yeah, a lot of chain actions. I think there's one spot with a knife where he's like they're like Brian Thompson's on top of Sylvester Stallone, and he's like trying to force those spiky knuckles down onto his face for like a quick tense moment, but then I think he loses the knife or something, and we never see it again.
Yep, the knife kind of just disappears because that's what
It
happens.
fell into the molten lemon and it kind
The,
of evaporated.
it fell into the mold. I have to go home now. I have to go to my home world. Um, Stallone picks up the night slasher, puts him on a hook that is just kind of moseying on by them.
A lemon hook.
A lemon hook. He like hooks it into his chest, and as the night slasher is going down, he goes between like this flamethrower machine, and he gets lit on fire and he dies.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like the whole death scene. It's like one upping that kill in Texas Chainsaw Massacre where they put the girl on the meat hook. But then
Yeah,
they also like what would be cool is if once the guy was on the meat hook, he goes through like a flamethrower thing, and it's like imagine like a horseshoe, and on the inside of the horseshoe there's like flame shooters, and he just like passes through the inside of the horseshoe on the hook, and just gets torched. It's a really cool set piece, but it makes no sense. What what tool is that in the factory in the lemon factory?
I have no idea what they would use that for, even in a legitimate factory.
Yeah,
No idea what would be the point of this thing.
oh, cooking bad guys and frying lemons.
Yep. Then the movie kind of ends in like the stereotypical action way. The Cobra and his buddy have a quick moment where he's like, I want gummy bears, and
Into my sugar.
Cobra makes up with everyone. But Larry from Hellraiser shows up again and he gets punched because he's an asshole.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about Sylvester Stallone's character in general. Like, Larry is clearly he's kind of the uptight, cop who's trying to hold the hero back, but I don't think he deserved to get punched. Like he tried to like make up with him at the end. He's like, I had no hard feelings. I know we don't see eye to eye, but you did good work. You saved the day. Shake my hand. And then he just like gets punched in the face.
So if the original movie happened, if the original cut happened, he wouldn't have even been there before the final confrontation in the factory. Stallone was going to have a confrontation with Larry before they head out to
The safe
the
house.
the safe house, in which he finds out that Larry is also a part of the gang, and he's been holding Cobra back because he doesn't want him to
Oh.
catch anyone.
See, that totally changes the dynamic then because all of the violence and shit talking that goes between these characters feels like unnecessarily heated in this cut. But that would make sense if we the audience knew that he was a secret bad guy like a mole.
Exactly.
Ugh. Yeah, I mean it explains a lot, but just makes me hate the movie more.
Yeah, and then the movie ends with Sylvester Stallone and Bridget Nielsen
Off
driving off into the sunset.
through the lemon grove.
It's a 3 for me. I have fun watching it. I know it's super flawed, but I think it's one of those things where as a kid I watched it with my dad and I have some feelings
Some
for it.
memories, yeah. I think it's like I mean I was shitting on it a lot, but I think it's certainly not the worst of the action movies that we've seen on this show. It was like I'd say I'd give it like a 2.5 or maybe a 3. Because I think some of the action scenes are good. It's technically competent in a lot of ways. Like the lighting is good. Like even though we see that stupid Pepsi neon sign a lot, like there's a lot of really neat like neon city lights. I don't know. It just in general, it kind of looks good and sounds okay. Except for some of the music is kind of weird, but
The music does not fit the movie that we're watching in any way, shape, or
no,
form.
the soundtrack. Also like sound effects and stuff. Those are good, but soundtrack is 100% not even close.
Yeah, it's garbage. The
Um,
soundtrack is fucking garbage for this film.
yeah, it's like honestly, I think it gets a little bit of a bump for me because of all the weird food fetish stuff that's going on. I don't know what we touch on a little bit, but this movie is serious food fetish territory. Everyone is
Yeah.
constantly talking about food. We're looking at food constantly. it almost became like a scavenger hunt for me watching the rest of the movie to just like find all the food references
Of like,
in the
yeah,
background.
what is going to be the next food thing that they comment or bring on into this movie?
Yeah, exactly. And but like by the time we got the close up of the French fries, like I was already on the lookout for it. That was just like gravy. It was like icing on top of that movie for me.
Yeah. Yeah, super weird. Definitely some odd choices in the film, but overall a fun little romp. Definitely worth your time if you can find it on streaming, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so.
Um, and one day I hope that the X-rated version of it comes out and I get to see the 40 minutes that were excised
The
from the
extra,
movie.
yeah, all the extra gore and that suit that X-rated sex scene in the hotel.
The
Yeah.
I know you had questions about so the movie
Yeah.
itself, Cobra, it was it was a modest budget film, right? It wasn't a big budget film. It was a
Super
$25 million
blockbuster.
film,
Yeah.
right?
Not cheap, but enough to do, some good set pieces, but not like a big Terminator style kind of movie.
Exactly. It made $160 million.
Really?
So it's kind of weird that they tried to do a sequel and they just couldn't get it off the ground for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but they
Hmm.
did try to make a sequel to this.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like it made its. I mean, it obviously made its money back. It did pretty. Sounds like it did a pretty good profit. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't try it, especially knowing Canon, especially if they're involved. Like, maybe if Warner Brothers wasn't interested, like, why didn't they just like sell the rights to Canon entirely to let them do a cheap knockoff? Like,
Exactly.
obviously, Sylvester Stallone wasn't going to be in the sequel, but get one of the other lesser Stallones.
Yeah.
Why
Get
not?
Frank Stallone. Who
Yeah,
knows?
get Frank Stallone in there. He's his brother. He's I don't know. He worked at the lemon factory and wanted to get revenge. I don't know.
Exactly.
Something.
Something. You could even just bring it up like it's Cobra in a different city, right? Like their version of Cobra,
New
right?
York Cobra.
Exactly. New York Cobra. There you go. You've
Cobra
you've
2, New York
already fucking
Knights.
got it.
Yeah.
You've already got it right there. Um, but yeah, definitely at least worth a spin.
Yeah. If
Not not Stallone's best. It's certainly not his worst though.
no, yeah, it's definitely middle of the road. And I'd say it's if you're looking like to recommend it to a specific audience, I think if you like 80s action movies, I think there's enough here where it's good in some aspects, but it's also kind of a fun it's fun to poke out like the stereotypes in this one. It kind of keeps you engaged. I was never bored in this, that's for sure.
Definitely. 100%. Yeah, you're never bored. Even during the brutal Bridget Nielsen scenes, you know that they're closer to being over than they are the
Why you
beginning,
do
right?
this to me? Oh,
Uh,
Bridget
and
Nielsen.
I think they probably know that. I think even Stallone probably is very self-aware because he is a competent filmmaker. I mean, he's won Oscars for filmmaking, so
Yeah,
he's definitely probably aware that Bridget Nielsen, his wife, is not the best,
not the
and
best.
maybe they should get her scenes over with quicker.
Just don't say it too much. Just look scared
Exactly.
and run away.
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh,
that's Cobra.
yeah.
What else? I know what we've watched recently because we actually met up yesterday and spent
Yeah.
some time IRL and we watched two movies together. We watched The Guest,
Yeah.
which
One,
was
one,
awesome.
yeah, I mean, that's a movie I've been trying to get you to watch for a while. One of my favorites, I think it's by the same guys who did You're Next, which is another great, like, new slasher kind of revival movie, but does a lot of really interesting things. Fantastic movie. Got Barbara Crampton in it, so you can't go wrong. Um, but yeah, this The Guest. It's a really hard movie to pin down, kind of like Cobra almost, where it's like you're not really. It like changes genres at times, where it starts off like you think it's going to be this like drama about an Iraq War veteran who's coming back to connect with the family of his fallen comrade, and then it turns into this like a home invasion kind of suspense, false identity movie, and then it just goes like straight action slashers at the end. Great music, great performances, funny at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like one of my favorite movies. Like definitely check it out. If especially it it's almost like an 80s throwback, but not like it doesn't try to look like it's an 80s. It's shot in the modern time, but it feels like an 80s movie where the parents are kind of like background oblivious characters and the kids are like the central plot drivers.
And
Really,
don't look
really
at the
good.
poster. The poster will make you not want to watch this movie.
Oh yeah. The poster is dog shit. I don't know who is responsible for it, but it does not do the movies justice whatsoever.
But as we were talking yesterday, how could you make a poster for this? Because the movie's so unique, right? It's so different.
Yeah, it's hard to pin down. I we talked about, so I've got the 4K release from Second Sight. Honestly, like probably less is more for this one because you there's really no way you can like tell what the plot is in a poster. So just going simpler, and the case, the box art for the Blu-ray is really good. It's just the lead character, the guest's quote unquote face with some kind of like neon lighting around it, and he's looking kind of sinister.
Yeah.
Sure, that's fine.
Sign me up. The other one kind of looks like a pretty boy romance type movie.
Yeah, like aside from him looking a little creepy, that's exactly what it looks like. It's like, guy, he's got like the rucksack around his shoulder, and you don't know what the hell it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh well. But yeah, definitely good. And the other movie that we watched was one that I brought. You brought some high art with the guest, and I brought UHF starring Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comedy movies. Definitely ahead of its time for sure. If you haven't seen it, you definitely need to check it out. Because there's a lot of stuff that modern comedies like Rick and Morty have aped off of UHF and have kind of unceremoniously like stripped away of like, oh my god, this is so original. But really, UHF did it first and they did it better.
Yeah. This so like I feel UHF came around when comedy like that kind of like Leslie Nielsen slapstick spoof comedy was really popular, but it's not quite that. Like
Yeah,
it's a little bit more disjointed and kind of like just random scenes kind of stitched together with some like common tissue, and it's all hilarious.
yep. Oh yeah, definitely. Every moment is enjoyable in the film, and you kind of just leave it just being happy, right? There is conflict in it, but it's never to the point where it overshadows the comedy of the film because again, it's Weird Al, so
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
It's a kind of like classic, feel good comedy plot where like they gotta like the town they gotta band together to save the TV station, and it's enough of like a central conflict to sort of like move things along.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Greg, it's been a while for
Uh,
us. And I'm cautiously optimistic yet slightly afraid of our next film.
oh no.
It's the 1986 science fiction horror film Invaders from Mars, directed by Toby Hooper, starring Karen Black.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So the last Toby Hooper film that we got was Life Force. And while that had some amazing boobage in it,
Amazing
uh,
visuals in general, boobage among
it,
them.
it definitely was a stinker of a film.
Yeah, it's
But this is also right before the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I really enjoy.
yeah, we've I think we've talked about that on and off through the entire history of this show as being kind of like a light, maybe not at the end of the tunnel, but in the tunnel there is a light, and that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 for just being weird and interesting. I've been really looking forward to that, but there's been a lot more Toby Hooper stuff in our docket that I wasn't necessarily expecting. I mean, Life Force was kind of a disappointment, but I think you're right. I think we've got reason to be cautiously optimistic for this one. I mean, it looks like, just looking at the poster now, it almost looks like what Mars Attacks tried to do, where it's kind of like a revival of like the 50s, kind of like sci-fi pulp action kind of
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah. It actually is a remake of a 1953 film
Oh,
of
okay.
the same name, Invaders from Mars, starring people. I don't think we've ever heard of any of them, but
Well past our generation, I guess.
exactly. So that's going to be the next film that we watch here on That's Canon. As of right now, I've only have secured the Tubi link for it. So
Ads.
ads, exactly. So hopefully I'll be able to find something that won't pump this 90-minute film up to like 2 hours.
Oh God, I can't, half an hour ads. Can you imagine what a hellscape we would live in if there were 2 hours, half an hour of ads added to an hour and a half movie?
I know. I mean, going to the movies already is a normal movie theater is already pretty brutal because of
Yeah.
all the ads that they show before the
Oh,
trailers.
thank you, Alamo Draft House. We love you.
I know. Alamo Draft House and the drive-in, the family drive-in at Stephen City.
Yeah,
I think
major
I
shout
got
outs.
2 trailers before that.
Oof, lean and mean. All killer, no
Exactly.
filler. Perfect.
Exactly. Get to it. And then yeah, the draft house, what they tell you to shut up. They show maybe 3, maybe 4 trailers, and then they tell
Yeah.
you to shut up again.
Shut the fuck up and watch the movie.
Exactly. So
Okay.
I don't know. I think I don't know about you, but when I see an ad, it in my head, I actively go, I'm not gonna buy this crap.
Yeah, I'm 90% of the time I'm that. Yeah, I will actively rebel against it because I'm pissed off that I'm being advertised to. But in like the 10% of the time, like I think I've told you about this like 5 or 6 times at this point, but during the Winter Olympics, we were watching, as the events we were watching on live TV. We were getting exposed to ads that we normally weren't. God, Phil, the Pizza Hut ads for that spicy lovers pizza, they worked on me so good. I immediately wanted that pizza, and we've ordered it a couple times since then.
It
Might order
definitely
it tonight.
happens.
Yeah, it's like
You
sometimes, and I hate it. I hate the ads for like getting me so good. Yeah, that's why I try hard to avoid them at all costs because sometimes they work on me too good.
it's exactly, and I have definitely fell victim to the more subliminal ads of like, oh, a Whopper or this, right? I think it's when I'm watching something and it interrupts the flow of what I'm doing. That's when I get upset.
Yeah, exactly.
um
Where it rips you out of the movie when you're getting ready to watch, Dune, or I'm trying to think of the ones we've seen in the theater recently, but
Batman.
like Batman, yeah, anything like that. Like, oh, try the new Bat Burger at Burger King. It's all
Yeah,
black. Ugh.
no thank you.
No, thank you. I just want to see the Batmobile do cool things.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, do you have anything else?
Quote of the week for
Quote of the
Cobra.
week.
So this was kind of hard. I think I always feel like I'm copping out when I say things like multiple lines, but like I feel like on the whole, all of the weird food dialogue would be quotes of the week. So I wasn't able to get clips of any of it, but if you've happened to feel if you've ripped this one, grab some clips of it and play it here. But all of that is so weird that I just had a fun time spotting and listening for those. But there was actually one line in this that I thought was actually a really good line, like almost like on a serious note. There's I think when Bridget Nielsen gets attacked for the first time and they're in like the urgent care with her, and the Sly and his buddy cop are introducing themselves, and the buddy cop says, "We're just a couple of nice guys here to ask you some bad questions." I just, like, that's such a good line. It's a good way for a cop to like approach someone who's just had a traumatic experience. Just like, hey, we're trying to help. We're the good guys, but we're going to ask you some uncomfortable questions because we have to because we're cops.
Definitely. Yeah. No, that is definitely a really good line right there.
Yeah, it's like surprisingly good like line that fits the situation in a sea of weird food dialogue. So take that for what it is.
Exactly. That's such an odd way of like qualifying it in a sea of bad food dialogue. There is this one gem of a line.
One gem of a line amongst the, hey, you should try prunes, smell something natural, or some fish or some rice.
Exactly.
Oh my God, shut up, Dad. I'll
Just
eat what I
fucking
want.
shoot someone.
Shut up and shoot the gun, Sly.
Yeah.
As I shove this spicy lover's pizza in my face.
This episode is brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut. Try the new pan pizza stuffed crust. Eat it backwards like a weirdo.
You know, my kid, every time he gets a slice of pizza, he's like, is this stuffed crust? I'm like, no, what are you talking
No.
about?
What is this, 1998?
Not everything is stuffed crust.
Damn it, Pizza Hut, you ruined normal pizza for kids.
Oh man. Well, if you like what you're hearing, go ahead, like, subscribe, comment anywhere that you can. Send us an email at that'scanon@gmail.com. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at That's Canon as well.
Go buy a pizza, buy a Pepsi, your local grocery store.
Exactly. And remember, since we said it,
That's canon.